Hi, I'm Dr. Jane Peterson of the Human Systems Institute. Today, I'd like to explore the wisdom of our body's maps of our relationships. Let me explain. I've facilitated and trained constellation work for more than 20 years in the United States and internationally. As I've honed my craft as a facilitator and a teacher, I realized that my clients were both showing and telling me, even when I was interviewing them in the chair, what their lived experience of their important relationships had been over time. Through their posture, their facial expressions, their gestures, their voice quality, their breathing, how they related to me in the role of facilitator, they were showing me their whole experience of these important relationships. So by the time I asked my clients to actually set up a constellation, that is to select either people or objects and place them in space to show me where they felt they stood in relationship to these important people in their life, I already had a sense of the map of their social field. I called these maps bodies in space. In seeking to better understand how people could make such precise, and as I came to learn, meaningful maps, I discovered how much the body knows about our lived experience of our relationship with others, and what a valuable resource this was for my clients and me in understanding and working with challenging situations in their lives. It turns out we human beings have multiple ways of knowing our world, particularly since relationships are so important for us as human beings. We're very sensitive to our place in our relationships with others. So one way we know as human beings is what I call the story-making mind. And our story-making mind is tasked with explaining our experience to ourselves. So it makes sense of things. And even if our story-making mind doesn't know, it will make up a good story. These stories we make up about who I am, who you are, what's happening between us. We need these stories to give ourselves a sense of identity. And these stories can strengthen us, or they can weaken us. They can support healthy relationships, or they can cause trouble. Our stories can be fairly similar to how others in our world would see us, or they can be quite different from the shared reality of those in our social world. So the story-making mind is more of a left hemisphere function in the brain. And in patients who have epilepsy where they've split the two hemispheres of the brain, they found that they can show the right hemisphere something and ask the left hemisphere about it. And even though the left hemisphere doesn't know what the right hemisphere has seen, it will still make up a good story. So the story-making mind is a little unreliable. It's great for planning. It's great for imagining things. It certainly has its place in our lives. It gives us a felt sense of like I am because I have a history and a story I can tell. And we have another way of knowing as well. It's more what we observe, sense, feel, see, hear as we go through our day-to-day lives. For example, we may notice that our boss frowns a little time every time we interact with her. We really don't know for sure why, but of course the story-making mind will kick in and tell us something, especially if there's news of layoffs, it will have a story. We do, however, notice subtle cues from people like that in our world, even though these little frowns or these little smiles or movements or gestures or things that people do don't necessarily register in our conscious awareness. Over time, these experiences build up in us a felt sense, a kind of gut feeling of where we stand in relationship to the other important people in our world. And that could be our partner or our boss. We just have a felt sense of, are we close? Are we not? So what I've learned is that even if we don't like our place in relation to someone, it's better to know where we stand than not know. So this body mind or body knowing of our relationships, it's very direct, it's very personal. It kind of answers the question of where do we stand in relationship to each other. It's also very literal. So, are we close? Do we see eye to eye? Are you beyond my grasp or out of touch? Am I breathing down your neck? Are you breathing down mine? Are you blocking my way forward? It turns out the body mind has a way of understanding ourselves as parts of living systems of relationships. And this way of knowing is based on our actual experiences day to day over time. So it's not based in fantasy or story. When we really want to understand what's happening in our family or friendships or our work team, our body has a way of knowing that can help us discover our place and perhaps help us find a better stance in relation to somebody important to us if what we're doing right now is not working. For example, let's take a couple. If I see them and when somebody represents them, maybe takes objects or stands people up to show me what they feel, and I see them, close enough, facing each other, and they have a sense that, yeah, we have access to each other, we're close enough, we can see the same things, we can see each other. It's really functional, it works. If, however, I see that one person in the relationship is turned away, or one person is standing in front of the other and blocking the one partner from going forward, or maybe they're standing back to back, then I know that there's something that's affected the couple relationship. And just from that image, we can get a sense of what might be going on. If you're looking away, you're the partner who's looking away, who or what are you looking at? If a couple has lost a child, for instance, it's a very, very hard situation. They may end up turning away from each other because it's too painful to look at the grief on their partner's face. And we will see that story instantly as soon as it's set up on the floor. In fact, sometimes, like I said, I can hear it as they describe things and show me their story in the chair. So this way of knowing is part of the magic of systemic constellation work. And this way of knowing allows us to tap directly into embodied knowing and to be able to make an image that can help us understand what's going on in our family or our workplace. So when our story-making mind has gotten us off track, is telling us a little fiction perhaps, our body can help us discover a more grounded truth. In this way, we bring our whole mind and our whole self to understanding our place in our important relationships. I love sharing this work because I can see my participants light up as they begin to understand this way of knowing, both personally and also by seeing how effective this is with their clients. I'd love to share this work with you. And I hope this little talk has made you curious to learn more about the body's way of knowing and the value of these bodies in space when they make their maps. So we have 2 programs that we're offering this fall, and I'd like to just share those links with you really quickly. So here you go. I teach, I've been working with organizations as long as I've been doing this work. And so I teach a course that's an online course. It's about 5 months, 10 sessions. That's designed to help people take this way of knowing into organizations. I also teach a course that also has a 10-month online beginning. And then both parties can come to some actual face-to-face bodies in space intensives. And that's the Art of Constellation Facilitation, which focuses more on families. If you'd like to see an example of this or participate in it, we do have a series of treasure hunt constellations, which involve using objects and are done on Zoom. And you're welcome to join us for one of those. The next one looks at couple dynamics and is scheduled for October 15th. So I hope this little description of this other way of knowing, which of course is one of many ways of knowing that we have as human beings, has inspired your curiosity, maybe made you listen and look a little differently at how people describe their experiences to you. And I hope that we see you at one of our events or courses. So thank you for listening.